Hello everyone, welcome to Chemistry Sessions. Today we are going to discuss about the objective questions of the chapter Chemistry in Everyday Life. Although you might be having, a little suspicion about this chapter that this is not so important, but some of the questions which are direct questions and factual questions which come up from this chapter are, they can give you free marks, right? So you just have to go through the chapter once, learn out some of the terms, right? The structures are not that important, but the terms, the medicines, the name of the medicines, those are very important, the name of the drugs, right? And that can fetch you free marks, you can say, right? Okay, so as we are discussing about the objective type as per the CBSE pattern, right? The new CBSE pattern that they have launched, let us move on to the question number 1. Which of the following statements is not correct? Not correct. Please be careful about the statement. Not correct, that means 3 of them are correct. Some antiseptics can be added to the soaps. So you must be knowing about it. It's a very general statement that the soaps are, antiseptic soaps are there, like Dettol, Lifebuoy, they have launched their antiseptic soaps. Now next one, dilute solutions of some disinfectants can be used as an antiseptic. So there are certain you can say compounds like phenol, right? So 2 to 3% of solution of phenol, it is used as a disinfectant. That means it may harm our skin. But if I reduce its quantity, its concentration to 0.1% of phenol, that would be acting as an antiseptic and we can use it on our skin. Fine. So this is also true, these two are true. Disinfectants are antimicrobial drugs. Obviously disinfectants, they kill the microbes, right? Antimicrobials. And the last one, obviously this is going to be our answer, let's read it out. Antiseptic medicines can be ingested. So antiseptics, right? Let's say you have got the solution of Dettol antiseptic that you use it on your skin, on your wound, but obviously you cannot ingest it. So antiseptics are not appropriate to ingest. They can lead to various kinds of problems, health problems, and you can, if you have ingested one, so you have to rush to the doctor, right? Okay, so that is how we have got our D option as correct. Clear? Okay, so let's just move on to the next question. In this chapter, this chapter, out of all the chapters, this is, one of my favorites. Why? Because while reading it, in fact, while I was in your situation in 12th standard, I was reading this chapter, I kind of got an insight why we are reading chemistry, basically, why we are learning chemistry. Because this is a chapter which actually connects us from the real world, right? And we can, figure it out how chemistry is applied everywhere, right? So it's an interesting one, have a look at it. Next question, which statement about aspirin is not true? Now aspirin, you must, these days the aspirin has been banned because of, it creates a lot of liver problems. It is very dangerous for our health, but earlier it used to be in use, right? So aspirin belongs to the narcotic analgesics. First of all, what is analgesic? Those which can kill the pain, painkillers sort of, right? So basically analgesic, the aspirin is narcotic, means it induces, kind of hallucinations, it makes us drowsy, dizzy, right? Like when we say doing drugs, right? So basically having aspirin, it does not lead to the narcotism, right? So this option is incorrect and this is the answer only. So aspirin, it belongs to the non-narcotic family. That means it does not create dizziness, drowsiness and everything, right? And it is effective in relieving the pain. Obviously it is a painkiller, it is effective very much. It has anti-blood clotting action. Yes, aspirin is, it's a wonder medicine basically. It has so much of uses. Anti-clotting is another of them. And it is a neurologically active drug. Yes, it is neurologically. What is neurologically active? That means neuro means basically the signals, our nerves are actually passing on the signals to the receptors which are present in the brain, and that is how we feel the pain in any part of the body, right? So basically these kind of drugs, they cut that action and I cannot feel the pain. although that part is affected and I would be feeling pain if I wouldn't have taken the medicine. So basically what these medicines do is they just cut out the signals, they don't heal the area, right? So that is what painkillers do. So obviously it is a neurologically active drug, and another class of drugs which is neurologically active, can you remember? It is tranquilizers, right? Another one. So that is how this option is also correct. We have got A as the correct answer. Clear? Okay. Now let's move on further. Question number 3. Equanil is, now again as I told you, you should remember the names of the drugs, right, which are used specifically in this chapter. Fine. So Equanil, it is not an artificial sweetener. Artificial sweetener are those like aspartame, you can say. Aspartame is one. Tranquilizers, yes, it is a neurologically active drug, and Equanil is the tranquilizer. I have got my answer. Why? Because I knew the name of the drug, right? I was thorough with the chapter. So you must also be, right? Antihistamines, so another class of drugs. Anti-fertility drugs, another class of drugs. Norethindrone and so and so. Fine. So that is how we have to perform this question. Factual question, basically no logic involved, nothing. Moving on to the question number 4, what do we have? Now, a narrow spectrum antibiotic is active against. So first of all, let me tell you one very important thing is the section of antibiotics given in your book in this chapter is specifically very important. Narrow spectrum antibiotics as well as the broad spectrum antibiotics. Many questions arise not only subjectively, but it can come as objective also, right? And not only here, but in various entrance exams also. Not talking about the IITs. So, gram positive or gram negative bacteria, first of all you must have come through these terms. The students of medical background, they will be getting this, but not the non-medical ones. So let me just give you a little idea about how to remember them. So gram positive bacteria are those bacteria. So basically what happens is, in the laboratories when we test the bacteria and all, what do is we stain the bacteria with a violet colored, right, kind of an ink. We call it as a dye, right? So we stain the bacteria, and some of the bacterias, they retain the stain. That means they may be purple colored, right, violetish or purple colored. You must be, when observing under the microscope, but some of them, they do not retain that stain, right? So basically we are dyeing the bacterias, right? So gram positive are the ones which retain the stain, but gram negative do not, right? Okay. Now coming on to the question, simply you just have to remember it. Fine. A narrow spectrum antibiotic is active against gram positive or gram negative bacteria. That means not both, but any one of them. So here I have got a little idea, because narrow means they are specified to only a little amount, a little class of the bacteria, not the entire one, right, which is the work of broad spectrum antibiotics, right. So here I think this would be correct, but let's go through the other options. Next is gram negative bacteria only. Now how do I know that this is acting upon only the gram negative? I do not know which narrow spectrum antibiotic I am using. It may be active against the gram negative, the gram positive also. Fine. So this is incorrect. Single organism or one disease, not appropriate answer, right? Not so appropriate. Both gram positive. This particular option may be correct, maybe, but not completely. Both gram positive and gram negative. So this is the work of broad spectrum, right? Not the narrow one. So I've got my answer as A. I hope it's clear to you. Okay. Now, let's move on to question number 5. So the question number 5 says, interesting one, which of the following is an example of liquid dishwashing detergent? So as I told you, you should go through the chapter again and again, the theory again and again, to mark out those terms which can actually be coming in your exam. So liquid dishwashing detergent, mentioned in the NCERT, this particular line And some of the detergents which you have done in the NCERT which are mentioned there is liquid, the ionic detergents as well as the non-ionic detergents, right? Okay, so specifically ionic detergents. In ionic, I have two. One is anionic, where the anion part is the bigger one. One is cationic, where the cation part is the bigger one, right? So these are the two types. And ionic detergents, these type, they are not an example of a liquid dishwashing detergent, but non-ionic one. So you should know about it. It is the non-ionic one. Let's figure it out which one is non-ionic, which one is not. Okay, the first one. So first one, what you can see is ions are there, and mostly the negative part is the bigger one. So this is the anionic detergent which I see here. Okay, now the next one, what you can see over here is simply a chain of alkyl groups with no ions present, and this is non-ionic. I think I've got my answer. Here again the anionic part is bigger, anionic detergent, this is also anionic. And this one, cationic part is bigger, right? This particular reagent, this is used in where? Hair conditioners, right? So it is an expensive one. Cationic detergent it is, right? And that is how I have got my answer as B. Clear? Okay. So let's move on to the very last question of this questionnaire, and it is going to be an interesting one. Why? Let's see. So have you come across these instructions before? These instructions are basically another type of criteria or questions which have been introduced by the CBSE. Not introduced, but incorporated in their syllabus, in the CBSE new exam pattern. Earlier these questions are used to be very commonly used to be a part of the entrance exams, right? Assertion, reason type questions. Now, what the purpose of CBSE of incorporating these type of questions is just to bridge the gap between IIT, right, those entrance exams, and CBSE, so that a person who is appearing for only CBSE can have an option to go for the entrance very easily. You should not be facing any difficulty, you know. Those students who are preparing for only the entrance exams are not able to perform in the CBSE well. So that is why the CBSE, you know, has done this clever thing to introduce the questions so that it may be helpful in your entrance also, right? So you must be familiar, some of you must be familiar about the assertion reason. What assertion means? It is a statement, first statement which is given, right? It is obviously related to your syllabus, and that statement may or may not be true, right? Another statement which is given is the reason. So assertion is given and reason is given. The reason may not be the correct reason of that statement one, right? And also that reason may be completely incorrect. So for that matter, they have given you 4 options what to choose. If both an assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation, you are lucky enough to mark A as the option. If we come on to the B one, if both assertion reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion, that means in that case you will have to mark B. If assertion is correct, but the reason is incorrect, mark it out as C. If both assertion and reason are incorrect, then mark it out D, right? Okay, so what kind of a question do we have in this? Let's have an idea. See? So it would be written something like this: assertion will be given and reason will be given. Assertion: competitive inhibitors compete with the natural substrate for their attachment onto the active sites of the enzymes, right? So how actually this inhibitors act, you should know about it. So basically what happens is, see here, as I have made something like this. So this is basically an enzyme, it has an active site, right? So here what will happen is the natural substrate has to come here, right? But what the competitive inhibitors do is they inhibit, they compete with the natural substrate, and they do not allow it to fix in here. Instead, they get in here. Fine. So this is the competition that the natural substrate face. So first statement is completely correct. Next one, in competitive inhibition, inhibitor binds to the allosteric site of the enzyme. what they are talking about, I cannot understand, because allosteric site is something like a site in here, right? So what an inhibitor do is, it comes up here, attaches itself here and changes the shape of the active site. So basically it is not competing with the substrate, it is instead making changes in the active site shape, right? So these are non-competitive inhibitors which do such kind of a scenario, right? So this statement is entirely incorrect, right? So this statement is incorrect and I cannot expect a reason of the previous statement, right? So first one is correct, next one is incorrect. What option do we expect in here is, let us see. So the option will be, yeah, if assertion is correct but the reason is incorrect, and we have got our answer as C. Clear? I hope everybody is clear to it. So these were, these questions were just to give you an idea about how to perform during the exam, during the new patterned exam. Fine. Again, go through the questions once, go through the answers and their explanations. Till you have got any difficulty, I am there to help. Have a nice day.